What do you currently have in your life that is undone? Something that needs to be done. Literally, you've been knowing it for weeks, months, maybe years. It's right there in front of you and it is killing you. You are literally overwhelmed by the fact that you still don't have this thing done. Welcome to Chasing Greatness, the podcast where we help you win at work, win at home, and win at life. And today we're talking about winning at home, and this idea of undone is what I've been thinking about this last week, and that's my problem. I've been thinking about it. I haven't been doing anything about it, and I'll tell you where my struggle is. I have this basket. It's a laundry basket, which is kind of crazy. But I had some papers that came in, and I ended up traveling, and I put the papers on a counter, and that didn't work with my wife. She's like, this is not going to work. We got to do something with these. So then I put them on my nightstand. I go out of town. I come back. They're still on my nightstand. More papers have come. I stack them up. Got some magazines. Got some books. Got some papers. All this stuff. It's crazy, y'all. And I end up saying, what am I going to do with this stuff? I don't have time to go through it. I was about to go out of town again. And I went back into our laundry room, and there was an empty laundry basket. And I took the basket out, and I came in there, and I stacked the basket full of this, stuff that I need to deal with. And it just was not good. I didn't have time. Company's coming. We get it out of the way. I put it back in the bedroom beside the bed. And here I am 3 weeks later, and this laundry basket is there. And I just went back out of town this week to speak to another group, and I came back, and there was more stuff that came. And my wife said, "What is your plan for this laundry basket?" And my question was, do we have another laundry basket? That was my strategy. I'm just gonna start another basket, and then I'll end up with a couple of baskets. This kind of stuff drives me crazy because it's not my sweet spot. It's not what I want. I don't want to spend my life dealing with all this kind of stuff, but it has to be dealt with. And so I've been thinking this week about undone, and here's what I've decided. Think about this in your area where you've got something that's undone. Here's what I would tell you. Undone is more draining than what needs to be done. Let me say it again. Undone is more draining than what needs to be done. Right now, the basket is I'm about to attack it when I'm done, with this episode. I'm literally going to go in here and I'm going to attack this basket, and this basket is coming to the ground. And it's going to take me probably an hour to go through it, an hour that I didn't really want to spend on this, but it's not going to be a hard hour. But here's what I can tell you. For the last 3 weeks, in some kind of crazy way, this basket has been weighing on me, knowing that it's been undone. Think about that. Undone is much more draining emotionally than what needs to be done is physically. It's not going to be that hard, really. I'm going to knock it out. It'll be done. But the best part is not going to be that it's going to be finished as far as that. The best part is going to be that I'm going to get to take off of my proverbial shoulders here, the shackles of the emotional weight of knowing that it's undone. Undone is always more draining than what needs to be done. And as you think about your spot right now, your place, maybe it's your closet, maybe it's your car, maybe it's your laundry basket, maybe it's your laundry. I don't know what you have undone, but chances are it is more draining than what needs to be done. And I can't, why are we not, I know I'm not the only one here. Why are we this way? What is it about us that puts things off that we know needs to be done? It still needs to be done. It's not, that part's not going away, but what I've piled on top of that is the emotional weight of knowing I've been putting it off. So undone is more draining than what needs to be done. So what do we do about that? Let me give you 3 or 4 things to think about. Actually, I'm going to give you 5. The 5th one I'm going to kind of open up next week. We're going to talk about it again on our Win at Home episode here. Remember, when we say win at home, it's not just about, marriage and family and parenting and all that. It really is what happens outside of work. We say work, we kind of put that in the 9 to 5 bucket, although that's, those days are kind of gone. Everybody's working all kind of schedules now. But what happens outside of work? What happens from, let's use 5 to 9? What happens outside of there? That's a lot to do with the quality of our life. And I always say if you win at work and you lose at home, you still lose. I mean, it's I'm not talking about losing your family kind of stuff necessarily. I'm talking about if you've got stuff weighing on you, you're emotionally not where you're supposed to be, you're spiritually not where you're supposed to be, you're financially not where you're supposed to be, you're not taking care of your health. I guess that would be physically, wouldn't it? If you're not if you're not taking care of your personal growth and development, there's all kind of stuff that happens outside of work that positions us to win at work. And so as I think about that, in light of this conversation today, this undone thing really is weighing on me. And I'm asking myself, why is this? And I'm guessing you might have some of the same challenges I do. So let me give you a few things to think about. Okay, the first one here is I think we need to admit that the struggle is real. I think we need to admit that the struggle is real. The truth is there's always going to be more that needs to be done than you're going to have the capacity to do. There really is. There's going to always be more than you can do. You're going to have more stuff than you can handle. You're going to have more relationships maybe than you can handle. You're going to have, go back to what we talked about last week. You're going to have more. We use the word priorities loosely, knowing that that's not even a word. I mean, we made that word up. That I'm gonna try to prioritize everything. You really can only have singular focus, like we saw in last week's episode when we talked about winning at home. This power of singular focus. And I think one of the things that happens when it comes to these things that are undone is we lose focus. But we also forget that this is going to be a struggle. The struggle really is real. And so I want you to admit that to yourself. But it doesn't have to, the struggle has to be real, but whatever it is that you have undone doesn't have to stay undone if you choose to focus on it. So let's lock in on one area right now. Mine's my big white laundry basket that is overflowing now and is going to be dealt with. I'm excited. I'll give you a report next week and let you know that I'm feeling administrative freedom here in my paperwork and the stuff I need to go through. But the struggle is real. All right. The second thing is I think we need to share the struggle. So I'm one little strategy here. I'm going public with this. I mean, I'm literally like, hey, y'all need to know this is what I'm struggling with. And so I'm going to report back to you next week. If I don't say anything about this next week, feel free to blow me up on Twitter or Instagram or wherever you are there, or hit me in the comments here and say, hey, why didn't you got to hold me accountable here? Cause this is coming down. We're not going to do this. Give me 1 week. It's actually going to only take an hour, but I'm not going to talk about this again until next week's episode on Wednesday. So I hope you'll check in for that. Cause we're going to talk about resistance next week. It's going to be really good. But I think you got to share the struggle. So you just need to find one person. You got one thing that's undone or 50 things that's undone. Find one person, pick one area and say, hey, here's something that I've left undone for too long. Here's a book I've been meaning to write. Here's a relationship I've been meaning to pursue. Here's a priority or a goal I've been needing to set. I mean, whatever it is, it's undone. Undone is more draining than what needs to be done. It's time for you to not be drained anymore. Let's share the struggle with somebody and say, hey, will you hold me accountable? Will you check in on me? Will you ask me about this in a week from now? And watch what happens. It's crazy knowing that if I'm going to go to the gym, I can go in the gym really by myself and I can kind of dog it if I'm not careful. But if I know I'm meeting my buddy there and we're working out together, or I know I've got a trainer I'm gonna train with, it's really hard to go in and coast when you're it's on the line. You're there with somebody. You're kind of trying to outdo each other. There's something about that accountability. Maybe we do something on accountability at some point. It's really powerful to have somebody. You got to look them in the eye and you got to admit this is what I did or this is what I didn't do. So the struggle is real. We got to share the struggle. All right, here's number 3. I think go back to what we talked about last week with this power of singular focus. And I would say if you've got multiple things that are undone right now, I do have a couple of other things that need to be done as well. I would say rank order those things and then focus. And so what I'm going to do is my number 1 right now, it's waiting on me right over here. It's my basket. It's number 1 on my list. That's the one that's going to get my focus when I finish recording here, and I'm going to go knock that out first. And so I got a couple other things that need to be done. They're not as important to me. They're not weighing on me as much, but they are weighing on me. Why? Because undone is more draining than what needs to be done. They're going to be easy as well, but they're going to weigh on me until they get done. Now, when I say weighing on me, it's not like I can't function or they're, like crippling me or paralyzing me here with what this undoneness. I'll make up the word there. But the truth is, they're going to nag at me and gnaw at me until I wrestle those to the ground, and then it'd be time to move on to something else. And so for you, as you think about it, how would you rank order the things in your life that are undone. And I would encourage you to focus on the number one thing at the top of that list and knock that to the ground. And that'll put so much more emotional energy, capacity, strength in you to be able to tackle the next one and the next one and the next one. So I think that's powerful. The other thing I'd say here, I think this is, we talk about this all the time with people who are they lack a bias for action. I think there's something about having a bias for action that's really powerful. But I would just say, don't wait, initiate. Don't wait, initiate. What's gotten me into trouble here is I've been waiting for the last 3 weeks, and I've not initiated any action toward this. And whatever it is you have undone, it may be bigger than you can do in an hour. I mean, you may have something that's undone. It's going to take you, if you're trying to write a book or something, it's going to take you months, maybe a year to do, but it's not going to happen at all unless you initiate some action. You've got to take action toward that. And so what would it look like for you to just take the little hammer out? It's almost like you're chiseling, and you just take it out and you just or let's say you're trying to chop down a tree. It's just blow by blow by blow with the axe, and it's not going, most of us aren't cutting down trees with axes. I know we don't have a bunch of lumberjacks listening here, but you get the point. It's like if we wanted to chop something down, we would, it would take multiple blows here, and yet most of us are so paralyzed with what's undone, we're not even chopping anymore. We're not chopping wood at all, so to speak. And so I want to encourage you to not just rank order and focus on it, but you're going to have to take some action. And I would say, don't wait, initiate. Go for it today. Go ahead and take a step today. Maybe your step today is just to write it down and rank order it. Maybe you don't really have time to do much more than that today, but tomorrow you wake up and you go after number one, and you that is your priority. That is your singular focus when it comes to taking down what's undone in our life. And then the last thing I would say, and I'm going to leave you here, and we'll come back to this next week because we're going to focus on this a little bit more. But it's this idea of recognizing resistance. I do want you to recognize and admit that the struggle is real, but also want you to. We'll take that a little deeper next week when we talk about recognizing the resistance. We all have this resistance that leads, if we're not careful, I say if we're not careful, it actually does. It always leads to procrastination. And so we're going to talk about that as we move forward. But right now, you've got something in your life that's undone, maybe multiple things. They need to be rank ordered. You got to focus. You're going to have to take some action. Find somebody that can help hold you accountable. Admit to yourself the struggle is real. And let's get into attack mode here and go after this, because if we don't, the emotional weight of undone is going to be more draining than what needs to be done. It's not that hard, y'all. We really can make our lives better if we would just do what we know we're supposed to do. Stop putting it off, push forward, and let's get that. My laundry basket's going to be empty in about an hour. I'm fired up about that. I hope you pick an area that's undone in your life and you recognize that it's actually draining you more than it would if you would just go ahead and do what you need to do. Let's do that. Let's keep chasing greatness. Make sure that we're doing everything we can to maximize so we can really win at home. We really don't want our home life to be burdened with all these details and all this stuff. Some of that's going to pop up. You can't just stuff it in a laundry basket and expect it to not affect you emotionally. Right now, what's your area? Pick it. Let's go after it. Let's make sure that we bring that to the ground so we really can have the emotional freedom we need and be available to the relationships around our life so we can be fully present with them without this nagging undoneness. That's our word for the week. All right. I hope you'll share with somebody if you got a comment or a thought, maybe a way you attack the things that begin to nag at you. I would encourage you to share that here with the audience. We'll pass that along if you've got any thoughts, and we'll be back with you on Friday. We're going to talk about winning the last hour of the day on Friday. It'll be kind of cool. It'll tie into what we talked about last week with winning the first hour of the day. I hope you had a chance to listen to that. If not, go back and check that out. But on Friday we'll be back and we'll talk about winning at life. That'll be good. Share with someone. Keep hitting the like button, helping us grow what we're trying to do here. And we'll keep trying to give you some content that'll be relevant to your life. All right. Love you guys. See you on Friday.